Whoa, you're like really far away. Anyway, this is the studio. You've probably been here if you're looking at this. And you probably know or don't know that we're moving because, it's looking awful anemic, awful empty. We're moving from one city to another, which means we got to tear everything down and build it back up. So a friend of mine told me it'd be a cool idea to kind of document this process. I am currently rendering some video. Really, I just got to get rid of this rat's nest to start with. So let's get into it. Power, of course. Got the old task cam, of course. Porta Studio. Got to take that down. Got to take out the warm audio. Got to box up the new Casio. Of course, little phone charging station. I was trying to not have to do this, so it's weird I'm flipping this camera around like this. But I got zip ties that need to come off in this really precarious spot. And I'm kind of scared. I'm worried about this. Alright, flash forward to the future just a little bit. And basically I've gotten all the wires down here kind of taken care of. Right now I'm just running the computer directly into the back of these just to have some background music. Cleaning some stuff up. These are power cables to the speakers. That's why they're still here. There's a couple runs that need to be pulled. Oh gosh, there's another zip tie down there. What is that? What are you? Oh. Lid to a candle. Oh, with a little silverfish inside. That's gross. Goodbye. We just had this cable come in the mail. This will be for the Tascam, the 208 that is in the shop. Came in that box. It's going right into that box. Probably could have been more gentle with that. I'm sorry. Room's looking more empty, so packed this guy completely up. Got all of his associated wires handled. That's just Ethernet cable. I actually have a really long run of Ethernet cable out of this room just because of the way this house is set up. Shelves are empty. Basically just got little things here and there. Just a couple things. And then everything else is in a box. There's my center speaker, my subwoofer. No more sub under the desk. I think this is gonna have to go straight in the garbage. We're back, and we're in the new office of the studio. In this box right in front of me, we have a new desk, or part of a new desk. There's a little image of it upside down over there. A new desk. So that's the top. This, I'm interested in finding out what it is. Let's get into it. I guess we'll do another time lapse on this guy. The DJI. Not sponsored, not sponsored. A little bit of a long lens for a small room type situation right now, but at some point I'm supposed to flip this over. Not looking forward to that. I don't know if I can do that on my own, so we'll see if that even happens today. Got the space heater working full effect. Got my finger in focus full effect. And then there's these other little cherry wood pieces. Here's the bottom. It is also really big in a small room. Right now, we are on the wheels of this desk, and dear God, the acoustics in this room are so pingy that I can't wait to get treatment on these walls. Now I just got to put the little keyboard guy on here and flip it over. Somehow, I'll figure it out. Alright, I'm as far back into the corner as I can be. Probably should have put a different lens on this camera, but desk is done. These technically would be going in the back of the room. I guess I can wait and leave them in the back of the room. Yeah, we'll just do that. The new ones come in 2 days. They'll go on this side, and then we'll have a little 5-1 setup. We'll have to get the sub underneath there, if we can. Oh, we can, definitely. Alright, it is a new day. And I spent some time taking things out of boxes, putting them on the desk. I put a new lens on the camera. These KRKs were my original speakers, and then they became the rears to my 5.1, and eventually here soon they will be gone and they will be replaced with another pair of these Atoms that are on the outside. They got the sub down there, got some power right here. I have a plan for these 2 rack units. I have a compressor that I need to touch base with somebody to get, and I'm going to get an EQ for that top level, and I think that'll fill it out. I'm feeling good about it. I got to decide if I'm going to put any sort of thing on the walls, but really I got to worry about acoustic treatment first and picking up trash. Whoa, so flash forward to today. It's been 2 years of building the studio out, and I'm glad I made this video because a lot has changed and I want to talk about it. So let's go into our studio tour section of the video. So let's start with up here. In our video, when I was building this desk, there was a Roland multi-effects. It was a reverb and delay in a Tascam US 1800 interface, and both of those aren't here now. Nothing is the same as it was a second ago. That's kind of deep, huh? But the Roland died, and the Tascam was not compatible with the Mac that I'm using now. So let's zoom out and talk about the heart and brain of my office right now. So for my brain, I have the Mac Studio with an M2 chip in it, and then I have, for the heart, a Apollo X8 interface. And to add a couple more channels of I/O, I have the Scarlett Octo Pre-Dynamic. So that's how I'm converting stuff and recording it into Pro Tools, which is my DAW of choice. So when I first started, I was running on my PC and I was using that Tascam interface I mentioned earlier, and it was more of an efficiency thing. I wanted enough channels to be able to record a full drum kit, maybe a couple other pieces, do a live band, maybe do vocals after. And over the last couple years, ever since I got the 2A, my ear for analog gear grew into a fixation. So I believe where I'd left off in the previous video a couple years ago, I had the 208 in the shop. I had just got it. It was a Facebook Marketplace find. It used to be in a TCU university, and I think it just ended up in a warehouse. And then it ended up in my studio. The interest from that grew from the 2A because I'd used the 2A in so many scenarios, and I was floored with the options, versatility, and sounds I was getting out of it. Those sounds and that versatility made me want to expand the amount of Tascam teak style preamps I had, and I did a decent amount of research, found the 2A for a really great price, and picked it up, took it to the shop to get cleaned up, and eventually it came back to me, no problems, except for the one problem. So the 2A is a 6-in 4-out mixer, and the M208 is an 8-in 4-out mixer. But in reality, it's more of like an 8-in 6-out mixer if you decide to utilize the feedback loop and the effects end as their own individual channels going into their own individual preamps post the knobs because there's no faders. So there we are. In 2023, I have my 10 channels of Teak and Tascam analog preamps, I'll call them, and I get the itch to get a tape machine. And I believe the first tape machine that I got was an Akai 1411. I think that was the model number. It was a box unit. It was super heavy because it had this tube preamp inside. It sounded amazing if you just ran stuff in the tube preamp. And for a while, I was using the preamp as a ceiling for my masters, and it did some great things. But noting that the tape speed of the unit that I had was super inconsistent, and I believe the tubes were about to go out and they were an outdated thing that would be hard for me to find, I was thinking, I think it's time to go ahead and sell this bad boy because he's slowly turning into a beautiful museum piece.
And after that, the move was really happening. So I didn't have a need for a tape machine. But after I got these guys set up, I was like, I'm getting that itch again. So before one of my seasonal trips down 45 towards Houston, I was perusing Facebook Marketplace and spotted the Ampex 440. I met with the gentleman who had it. He told me the history of the unit. It was from one of the university's RTF programs down there, and they were liquidizing a bunch of the gear because the gear took up too much physical space. And this gentleman ended up with 4 of the units, this one being the smallest of the batch, and the biggest one being 16 channels. So after talking to him about the history and squeezing it into my SUV and driving it back up 45, I took it directly to the shop, got Dragon Amps to diagnose it, and it was in pretty dang good condition. I just needed to clean up some of the physical dust and dirt. The heads were in great operating condition, and it needed to be calibrated. So after realizing it was going to take a little bit more time to get the Ampex calibrated and fully functional, I got that itch again. And that itch led me to another tape machine, the TIAC A3440. So I'm not sure if it's Teak or TIAC. I'm just going to put both of them in there so everybody's satisfied in that regard. So unlike the Ampex, we can't change the speed on the actual tape machine here. This is calibrated to be 30 inches per second and 15 inches per second, but it does have a pitch wheel, so we can go a little bit below each of those numbers. On the Ampex, we can run it as slow as 3 3/4 inches per second, which is very slow. It'll make a large reel last about 3 1/4 hours. The 3440, I learned after getting it into the studio, is actually a matching pair with the 2A, which is like a nice homecoming for the 2 units to be on the same right side of my desk. On top of this tape player, I have a Tascam DX40 as my denoiser. I had to modify it to actually be compatible with this unit because it is a little proprietary, but if you guys want visual on that mod, I can always make that. Just let me know in the comment section below. So there we were, beginning of 2024. I had my 6 channels of tape, and the Ampex was still, not fully calibrated, but it was functional. I wanted to fill out the left side of my desk. So I strapped in my patch bay, knowing I had to make the hard decision on what was going to be the last set of fixtures for the left side of my desk. And then in-strutted the Shure M367, which is a beautiful and interesting and hilarious dirt box. So you might be noticing a trend of me using mixers as preamps, and it's not too crazy of a thing given that most of these have lineouts, so it's not too out there of a concept. The Shure itself was an efficiency mixer with a limiter built in, so you could do broadcast or live to conference speeches and not have your audio go over a certain threshold. It itself is a 6-in, 1-out mixer, though there are 2 outputs. Those outputs are the same audio, so it's really 1 out. The limiter can be adjusted, so you can, if you have a loud sound source, hit the limiter very early in your gain staging. It'll give you this heavy-handed devil lock style distortion. It also has a low-pass filter if you want to integrate that in any use you can come up with, because there's about 1 million. And there's not much more to say about that guy. We're going to move up to the EFX3, which is a multi-effects unit. The 3 effects on tap are chorus, which is an analog BBD chorus, spring reverb, and delay, tape delay. The coolest part about the unit to me is you can take a line out of each individual head, which I have routed in my patch bay right now, and do quadraphonic oscillation, which I haven't seen any videos of on the internet, but I think that is going to be a insane utility for whenever I'm mixing films or commercials. And before we get to the last piece of gear, I do want to say that I'm going to be making individual videos on all these units. If you're thinking I didn't go like super deep into them, this is just their studio tour. We're going to keep it light and keep it brief, or as brief as I can keep it. And the last item on our list is the Audioscape bus compressor, which I use all the time. Audioscape made their way onto my radar after I visited a couple different studios that had different units, not this particular one, but I'd seen the name and I'd heard the processing. And after doing some digging on what the unit is and what it's modeling, and basing that off of the music that I make and the workflow that I do digitally, SSL style bus compression always made it into my mixes, so it was kind of a no-brainer to get a physical unit. So before I say goodbye, I want to say goodbye to the things that I left behind gear-wise. So I ended up selling my Tascam cassette recorder, the 414 MK2, to a friend. I still have the Warm Audio, the orange one. It's just part of my mobile recording rig. The Tascam is now part of my mobile recording rig as well, though that was more out of necessity because when I was operating on my PC before I moved over to the Mac, it was completely fine. But whenever I moved over to the Mac, the software hadn't been updated since '09, whereas the software on PC had still been getting updated. So whenever I tried to interface it with the Mac, it was just not seeing it properly. So I had to find the Apollo. And honestly, the Apollo's kind of been a game changer. I do really enjoy the workflow. I think I'm about to delve into the speaker calibration next. But I hope this has been kind of an interesting video for you guys. It's been a long one for me, and I'm kind of glad to get it out before I get too busy with something else. And I want to show you guys whatever that something else is. So in closing, I got high hopes for the studio this year and next year and the year after that. I'm looking forward to making some pretty killer music with the musicians in town and maybe some musicians out of town. We already have some stuff on the table for some interesting collaborations. And I'm really looking forward to doing some short form content about some of the gear that I've acquired and why, because it's always so inspiring to get deeper and deeper into what this stuff can do. So until then, I guess I'll see you guys in the next one, whatever that one is.
That's made in heaven, it's inconceivable. The fruit of loom comes out to me, prices laid out, it's reasonable. Always dreaming, I play for keeps, as I never lost my head in some breathable box of breeze. Am in it now. To say that it's the best, check the threads without a doubt. Meditate in comfort as I rest, I get it now. All I need's a prayer to keep.
Don't stay awake too long. Don't go to bed. I'll make a cup of coffee for your head. I'll get you up and going out of bed. Yeah. Don't stay awake too long. Don't go to bed. I'll make a cup of coffee for your head. I'll get you up and going out of bed.
Yeah. Life is not true enough. Strap to the bed. NPR Tiny Desk, what's good? What's good? My name is John One, and these are the boys.